Hey ladies, it's Saturday night and you know what that means. You want to get away. Single Moms Lifestyle presents the Saturday Night Getaway.
Hello. Hello.
¿Qué pasa, güey?
Hola, señorita and papis and all that good stuff. Hey, everybody. Welcome. You are now tuned into Single Moms to Wives Saturday Night Getaway. And joining us is It's a Man's World. We have my really dope co-host. I'm Queen G. We have Jihad up top. Up under him, we got Simply LeRae, and we got my boo, Corey Poe, up under me. And this is the panel for tonight. So thank y'all for tuning in. If it's your first time, you are always going to be in for a treat here. This is a show where we are wide open, all gas, no brakes, and we're talking about the things that happen behind closed doors in our homes that we definitely want to discuss. Problems and solutions. We know what the problems are. We're always here looking for solutions. We're always here learning. And we welcome you to join us every Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you would like to be a guest on the show, please email us or have a topic at singlemomslifestyleradio@gmail.com. And we want to wish everyone in the month of July a happy birthday. If you have a birthday in the month of July or anniversary, happy birthday, happy anniversary. Happy. Do we have any birthdays, guys?
Yeah, we just had one pass on July 4th, which was Elijah's, and my godson's birthday is July 27th, Chaitlin. He'll be 4.
Oh, the big 4.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Poe, you got July locked down?
Jakina's birthday is the end of July. I want to say July 22nd, something like that.
Okay.
And Uncle Kevin and Aunt Dee Dee just celebrated an anniversary this past week. So kudos to them, man. They've been rocking together since.
Yes, happy anniversary. Aunt Dee Dee is literally my mentor, my wife mentor. Do you hear me? My marriage mentor. So I absolutely love her. And Uncle Kevin, happy anniversary. Jihad, what you got in July? You got to unmute. I got you. Go ahead. What you say?
I got an iPhone. My first one ever.
In July. Well, welcome.
My iPhone's my phone birthday yesterday.
Oh.
No, I don't know if except Uncle Ed, July 4th, you know.
Okay.
My beloved uncle.
Well, I know we have Cousin Daisy coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely have Lil Paul Jr. on the 18th. And then my daddy is on the 20th. I hope I'm not missing anybody else. If so, y'all charge it to my head and not my heart. But I do know Tootie just celebrated a birthday as well. So happy birthday to you. And Michaela, my niece Michaela, has a birthday coming up. So woo woo, number 18. But yeah, so it's definitely a hot month for July. Happy birthday to everyone. And I am super excited to introduce tonight's topic. We are missing Paul. He will be back with us next weekend. And as you know, Not Your Status Quo is still on sabbatical from the loss of a family member and just trying to put all the pieces together and help out where she can. So we'll see her again soon. Let me tell you how I feel about this topic. Wait, this is where I'm at with the topic all night, okay? This is how I feel. It wasn't me. No, I'm just playing. So this topic is deep, y'all. So we are definitely going to go ahead and dive right into it. The topic is religion versus relationship. And yes, I said versus, meaning or. And so we know that in 2021, most of us raised in church, we have been raised. Uh, I was raised on tradition. I went to church on Sunday because that's what I was raised to do. It took me becoming an adult to realize that the relationship was more important. I was in the children's choir. I think grandma even had me on the usher board with the white gloves, the white shirt, and the cute little navy skirt. I've done that. You understand? Been there, done that. I've had an honor of being the youth step team, uh, minister of the youth step team, I guess you would call it. And none of this, it didn't click until I was in my 30s that I was just doing the acts of service in traditional church. And I didn't have a relationship with God. In 2021, we see, especially with COVID, a lot of the people of the cloth who's had to transition to social media. And so the question is just posed when we think about the way that we were raised in traditional acts of service. Um, what are we drawing people to? Understanding that I absolutely love to go to church because I love to fellowship and worship with other believers. So even having a relationship with God on my own and knowing that I am the church is wherever I am. I still love to go to the building and I love to fellowship and worship with other believers. But then there is the business of church, the politics of church that for me has really gotten in the way of me enjoying the fellowship of it all, the worship and the fellowship of it all. So I just want to actually delve into this and get you all's opinions on that. And whoever would like to start first, the other thing, I'm sorry, before I switch gears or give the virtual mic to somebody else, is also we want to know what you believe and why you believe what you believe. No matter what religion you choose, or if you're whatever religion you're in, you practice, why? Because a lot of people don't know why. Who want to take it?
Well, hold on. Hey, Auntie, can you tell Dad how to click on this link for the program, please? Yeah.
And hello, everyone. We see your comments. Hello, Cousin Doris, Mama, Chrissy Lynn. Hello, welcome.
Well, just starting off, when you talk about religion, I believe that we have an idea of what we believe religion to be. Religion is just basically a way of doing things. So when we speak about religion in itself, in and of itself, is not bad. It's just what it's become to be, what we equate with religion. Say if you wash your hands every time before you eat, that's a religion. That's religious. That's something that you do on a norm. It's a way of life. It's a culture. So I believe the conversation is geared to what we really want to speak into and delve into is traditional religion and how it's evolved from the original intent and purpose. I myself, I identify myself as a follower of Christ, a Christian or a believer. But even again, when you use a word like Christian, it's grown into something that it mutated into something that it wasn't supposed to be because we have all these negative connotations attached to it. And then when we get into the relationship piece, anytime that you have an engagement with another party, that's a relationship. So the religion of Christianity was supposed to always be about relationship. It's just become this whole other thing now. So I just wanted to put that out there before we got into deeper into the conversation. John, what's your thoughts?
Actually, you hit it on the head, man. Religion is something simply that what you do. I think people tie religion to beliefs. A religion, just like some people say, basketball is my religion. A hobby, a particular hobby, can be a religion. Religion is just something that you do, and you do it all the time, and you do it, as they say, religiously. But yeah, I mean, you hit it dead ass. I mean, you hit it dead on the head. But you hit it dead head, cause
Yeah, you good, you good, you good. And Corey Poe, you're actually a great value for this topic. If if you don't mind me sharing your background in church, and or if you could share your background in church and in ministry, um, and then maybe we could go, as the show goes on, about where your mindset is now, um, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, I love to. But before I do that, I would love to hear what Simply Ray would have to say.
I would.
Just simply where we've come from to this point. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm really freezing over here, guys, but I will go ahead and speak.
We can.
I would call myself first a child of God, a follower. Said when you use the word, has so many different things attached to it nowadays. So most of the time, I just call myself a follower of Christ or a child of God, and lean way more to having a personal relationship with Him versus the traditions that I learned growing up in church.
Right, okay. Right. And I've grown up with mom's side Baptist, dad's side Pentecostal, and now being an adult and having the choice to choose my own, I just choose to be a kingdom kid, period.
Yes, ma'am.
That's who we are. That's what our practice is. Corey Poe.
Absolutely, baby, and you hit the nail right on the head. That's something that even when in the early phases of our relationship, I began sharing with you my views and my belief as it is. I know it's a little weird from what we would call traditional. Just a little brevity of my backstory. Grew up in the church. I assume as most of us were. I always knew that there was something different about me, the way that I heard the word of God, the way I was able to understand and comprehend the word of God, understanding that it's a gift from God, nothing to brag about, nothing that makes me better than, less than. It's just what God put me on this earth to do, to be a voice for Him. And when we speak about the word of God, when you talk about the word, we're talking about the logos. There's different words for the word of God, but when you talk about just the generic form of the word of God, it comes from the Greek word logos, and that simply means an expression through word. And I like to put it this way: I believe God is, if just in a way we can understand, because in John it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." So God is like a thought, if you will. We know that Christ is the word. So Christ is the way that God relates to us. If God is a thought, we can't read people's mind. We can't understand the mind of God. Christ is the expression of those thoughts, if that makes sense, because we express ourselves through words. So that was an understanding I came to in the early age, understanding that there was a close uniqueness with God and Christ Jesus. And then when we got into church, I experienced a lot of church hurt, just simply because I asked a lot of questions. I didn't always go with the status quo. I didn't always go with what you say is okay. Why? And so it came to a point where I just started asking God why, and God started revealing to me some of the answers. And so I would always question, not to be disruptive or anything. That wasn't my nature, as I really wanted to understand. So I would ask questions from pastors and be shut down and shun out, and trained up under a lot of great men of God. They had their human flaws, which now later in life I'm able to separate the man from the man of God and understand that we're all flawed. And I believe that's something that most of the people that I knew tried to cover up. Um, we're flawed. It just is what it is. And I believe that one of the hardest things for me to grasp and accept is that most of the things that I have been taught and understood were wrong. It was almost like a power struggle, so to speak, or it was a position to play to keep power, almost like the Sadducees and Pharisees in the New Testament. Not really want to embrace the expression of the truth of the word of God. And if we understood it that way, the way that I believe the church is set up, we see it as like a tier system. You have the laymen, then you have the deacons and mothers boards. That's something man-made. That's not in the Bible anyway. Mothers boards. And then you have your pastor who's at the top of that tier. And people seem to believe they got a super salvation, like that salvation is different from the lay person, which is not true. It's just that God enabled him to be a person, to be able to organize the people, inspire the people. But we made that a position of power. And Christ said it himself. He says, those who wish to be great amongst you must become the least. You know, he said, I didn't come to be served. I came to serve. So I just saw a lot of things that were going wrong in religion that took away from the relationship and actually became a stumbling block from people understanding who Christ was. So you can call a hiatus or whatever, but once these truths were revealed to me and some other people, the body that I was attending, let me know that I wasn't crazy, because I believe once you start to see these things and it's so few against the masses that you start to question what you really see, if that makes sense, because it's like that's not the norm. That's not the status quo. This goes against everything I've been taught, everything I've heard. You know, it's like, Lord, is this real? And so the best thing for me to do, rather than to cause another disruption in the body, is I withdrew from some of those fellowships that still continue to practice and operate that way. I get my cue from Christ. Christ was out here in these streets, man. I mean, I read a book called Christ in the Margins, and that's him, man. When he was in the temple, he spoke the word, but it was also to show what was going on, where the nation of Israel had come so far away from what the original intent of God was. Christ wasn't a Christian. Christ was a Jewish man. But and so that's what I'm saying. We put these labels and things on, but we really get away from the true work of what Christ is, what he represents. And that's what I believe. And that's what I try to carry out, where my wife just told you, kingdom kids. A kingdom has to have a king. Christ is my king. A domain. So it's the king's domain. Wherever Christ rules, that is the kingdom. So if he rules in our hearts, we see ourselves as kingdom kids. So
I love that. I love that. I want to read to you guys a post that came across my Facebook page, and leaving the original person that posted it anonymous. The post says, your pastor isn't your equal. They don't owe you friendship. They owe you leadership. And I had to actually respond to this because, of course, the first thing that stuck out was, your pastor isn't your equal. That bothered me. That really bothered me. Because again, growing in relationship, being taught by my husband and understanding that we are all disciples, we are all called, and we are all the church. I'm trying to figure out where any man other than God is more superior than me. So maybe the statement in itself, it bothered me. Then it says that they don't owe you friendship. But Now I'm going to go back to the old school, what a friend we all have in Jesus. So if we're leading people and we're drawing them near to God, that is absolutely a part of my service. Do I owe you that? No. But if I'm going to be Christ-like, you understand, then to be a friend to someone is priceless. And my title has nothing to do with my decision to be a friend. So that was my stance on that. And then the leadership is a whole nother ball game, because I see the leaders getting so caught up in the business, the fame, the flyers, the cash apps, the look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, that I can't see God. They're so loud. And I have a bunch of youth that has literally decided they're not even being led to God. They've decided to start going with, what's the terminology, Simply Lorraine?
I can't even remember. I can't remember the name. I know
It's the hum daily lie. It's the atmosphere. It's the, we're going by
universe.
There we go. The universe, the
vibe, and vibes. And I'm like, mind you, or we have you saying, hey, I want to be a preacher and buy a church because that's where the money's at. That bothers me. You understand what I'm saying? It bothers me to see ministers say, hey, you go to Walmart, you go to work, you go to the club and it's mess. So what is mess in the church? It may very well be, but the mess should be coming to the church, not from the church, because the church is the hospital for those that got mess on them. But I come to the church because I'm sitting in the pew. I ain't called. So I'm coming to the church for you to show me how to get this mess off of me. But what I see is mess coming from the church, the gossiping, the judging, just messy, messy, messy. And a statement like that, without you clarifying that we are here to show you the way. Again, leadership, not here to say, so what? You know what I mean? You go everywhere else, come here for the mess. Now those that are under us, what they're saying is, I ain't got to get up in the morning and go to church, but and to get what I can get at the club or in the street. What am I getting up early in the morning for? So going back to the topic at hand, what are we leading them to? What are we showing them at the end of the day? Because what I hear coming from the youth's mouths, even from myself, I'm not going to another church. Not to get that. Not when you have leaders literally judging, being messy. I mean, you literally are called and you're all on social media, but you judge somebody. You will put your mouth on somebody who may have fallen instead of praying for them, instead of doing, you understand, being Christ-like. That's a problem for me. And I think that we have to reel it back in, and everybody, the obligation I feel like we have is to be the church. Stop turning a blind eye and saying, I'm gonna mind my business. It's not okay, because at the end of the day, we have to be about God's business. Whatever you believe, but being decent, you understand, treating people right, and leading the example where our youth can carry us on into the next generation and be better than us. I don't think that's a big ass. Jihad, what you got?
My experience as far as God has been controversial. Growing up in my grandfather's church, even as a kid, I've always had questions. My questions began, when we started going to private school, we were young. My parents could afford it. We kind of, my mom and dad had great income, so we went to a private school, and we went to the area where it was wider, more financially lifted. But what I noticed was Monday through Friday, I went through a lot of stuff in the school systems with white people, and then come Sunday morning, I'm in a church or a building full of black people that was emotionally entangled in a white image behind the choir stand, and I struggled with that as a youngster. I was taught about God, I was taught about Jesus, who was taught the Bible, but I had questions. I would lay up on the roof of my house in St. Louis, Missouri, the one that I grew up in, and I would lay on. I would literally crawl out the window all night and just gaze into the galaxy and try to figure out what is God, what was God, and I was always confused about it. So quite naturally, being in the family that I was, is a very spiritual family, a family that's gifted, full of ministers and vocalists. I fell into the culture. But as I got older, I began to start to question, what's the purpose of belief if it doesn't work? What's the purpose of believing in something if the people who say they believe in God are in the worst position on the planet? What's the purpose of believing in God if the people who say they believe in God don't know how to solve problems? What's the purpose of believing in God if I don't do half the things that they do in a churchly manner, whether if I attend church or if I pray, and I'm just as quote unquote blessed, just as healthy, and you know what I'm saying? I get things just like they do. So I didn't understand what was the purpose of believing in something I completely didn't understand. Somebody told me Christ is not a person, Christ is a label. I think Corey Poe hit on it, but he used the words differently. But he's on point. Because I tell people all the time, the only Christ I've ever known were the men in my family, speaking about my granddaddy, Reverend Thames, my father, my uncles. And the reason why I say that, I didn't understand God as being an unseen entity or a spiritual deity, but I understood when my grandfather opened up the church for the community with free summer camp, free food, clothes, getting people out of jail, visiting the sick. That's where I started to understand God. Or like my dad, you know what I'm saying? I tell my dad all the time, "You the only Christ that I know." Because of what he's done for me in my personal life and done for others. I understand that God is love and love is an action. And I don't see a lot of action from people that believe. I think we believe in God the wrong way. People that claim that they are believers think there's no duty and no responsibilities behind that. Yeah. You just said, I believe in God, and that's it. When you mess up, you ask for forgiveness, but you have no real culture. You have no real discipline. You have no real action. You don't service the people. Yeah, my purpose here is to solve problems and service people, and I didn't see this. So as I got older, because y'all know me, my family know me. I've been in books. I researched. I've been down a lot of lanes, and I still don't understand God. But I understand with all religions, all practices, they all have one fine line, and that is peace, love, service. You understand what I'm saying? Civilized humanity. But what I always look for, because I'm a very logical minded individual, I look to where the believers, I look for their triggers and I don't see them. You understand what I'm saying? I look for triggers that make you want to love those who look like you rather than be hostile. I look for the triggers of those who are patient and compassionate with those who are struggling with drug addiction. I hate when people see somebody out on the street and somebody say, well, that's just a result of their decisions. As if they're not loved of the Most High. I look for the triggers to solve problems. I don't see them. I look for the triggers to want to know yourself and know your origin in this world, and I just didn't see it. So I thought to myself, I know there's a higher intelligence above the human form. I think man is God personified in human form because we have an intelligence that we don't use. And we don't make decisions to solve problems, but it's there. Just like when they say somebody has autism, a person who has autism is simply operating at a mental level above 10%. Which means that being in the human composition, we probably wasn't geared to use that much mind. But that also lets me know that there's a direct connection with God and man being God and one in himself. And it's through actions, it's through the intelligence of your mind and having triggers to service people and to solve problems. So while I do believe that there is a higher source outside of the human form, which we are pretty much the universe personified in human, I still struggle with the concept of God because the people who say they believe just don't prove it to me.
Dang. Simple Array, take that.
Man, he said a lot, and I can understand. But for me, I grew up in the church. My grandfather was a pastor. My uncles were pastors. I have an aunt who is, I would say, my spiritual mother. That, and for me, what I mean by spiritual mother, those times when I was a teenager that I called myself backing up because I didn't want correction. I didn't want anybody telling me that I should do it this way or do it that way. I could back up in my family from that type of people who could speak life into me. Let me say it that way. And I could not be around for 6 or 7 months, and that would be the one that could call me and tell me everything I done in 6 or 7 months. So for me, my belief in God and my belief in Christ comes from the experiences I've had with him. There's no
Yes.
that she could have knew that. There's times when in 2014 I was on the back of a motorcycle going down I-70, and
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
2 o'clock in the morning. We slide across I-70. I had a road rash all on the right side of my face. This is at 2 a.m. Monday morning. By Thursday evening, well, let me back up a little bit. Everybody that came to see me laying on the hospital bed, I didn't feel any pain. Let me say that first. I felt okay. People were coming and crying, looking at me. I keep raising my hand like, look, I don't want to hear that. That's not what I'm thinking about right now. I'm fine. I'm okay. I don't know what I'm look like, but I'm okay. I know I'm okay. And my mom asked me when we were going to pick up my car, she asked me, what do you want to do? She said, what do you need? I said, what I need you to do is I need you to go get me some oil, some clean white rice. When I got in this house, before I laid down and started resting, I grabbed the oil. I prayed over the oil. I anointed my face. And what I do know is I wish I would have documented. We do so much documenting on Facebook and taking pictures, but that's what testimony is all about. By Thursday, I wiped off every scar on my face. I had broken my optical bone. I didn't feel the broken bone because the Lord blessed me. So when I broke the bone, it popped my nerve. So I never felt the broken bone. And the only time I felt like my face was drug across the asphalt was after surgery.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Wow.
But
Wow.
I feel like that testimony was not more so for me, but for those around me. It was
Yeah.
for my son to see. It was for my grandfather who was retired, a retired pastor. My auntie has taken over. And he got to see my face. One of the ministers whose hair I did, I went ahead and went to work because I was a hairstylist at the time. So that Wednesday, she got to see my face. And by Sunday, when she seen me in church, she was like, oh my God.
Right. Right.
So it was in just different moments that I've had in life where he has just shown up for me. And I know it couldn't be anything or anybody else.
Right. Right. I absolutely agree with you on that. And I know we had that conversation and talking about, how do God is real? Why do you believe in God? That was one of the questions tonight posed in our topic. And that was absolutely my response. I believe when I began to have a relationship with God, it's when I began to talk to Him. I began to ask Him for things, and then things that only He and I would know began to manifest in my life. You know what I mean? To this day, I can truly say there has never been anything, and my husband can attest to it, that I've asked God for that He has not delivered on. That was for me. Let me say that. Anything that I've asked God for in private, things that I've asked Him for in private, um, a relationship with God is an experience that is completely unexplainable, undetainable. You cannot detain it. Uh, and it is definitely bigger than a religion. I separated myself from religion or the religions because it caused too much discord. You got this religion saying that, oh no, it's this way, and they're doing it wrong, and I don't mess with them, and no, don't let them in your house because they'll teach you the wrong way, and they'll teach you this way. And at the end of the day, we come from one God. You understand? One God. We are all God's children, but then it is okay to allow discord based on a title, which is religion. It's a title. It's like you said, it is something that we do. It's something that you practice on a daily. That's it. I actually looked it up and I'm giving you the actual definition of religion, which is belief in a god or gods and the activities that are connected with this belief, such as praying, worshiping in a building, such as a church, a temple. A religion is a particular system of belief in a god or gods activities. And it just reminded me of this story where you had this person that eat, sleep, breathe church. They was at church every day, all day, twice on Sunday. They served every way that they could. Their life was full of church. People that I know right now, up close and personal, go to church every day, all day long. But in the end, when they had to stand in that single file line and they had to go in and it was judgment day, again, this person couldn't figure out why he couldn't get through the gates. He couldn't get through the gates because God said, I don't know you. You did all these acts of service. You served on the motherboard. You sung in the choir. You know what I mean? You did all of these things in the church, but you didn't know me. You never got to know me. So that to me is what sticks out. I am not trying to convince anybody what to believe. I will say this. You should believe in something. You do need something to believe in. But whatever it is, understand that we have to stop doing these acts of service to look like we're just this real big Christian. Because like Corey said, you know what I mean? Jihad is saying, which it hurt my heart to hear Jihad say this because I know how we were raised. What are you showing us? What are you showing them? What are we being led to? I see more ministers on Instagram and Facebook, cute to death, fresh to death. One of them will show you his kicks all day, every day, twice on Sunday. Louis Vuitton bags, all of that. I never see them in the streets. I never see them giving, tithing to the widow, to the fatherless. I don't see that. And that bothers me because, again, in order to see God, in order to know God and be Christ-like, these are the things, in my opinion, I'm not a professional, nor am I called, but in my opinion, my heart is always for the people. No matter what I do, I try to do something where I am in service. I don't like to give myself the title of as ministry, but whatever I do, I like to serve people. I like to give to the community, the needy. And for Jihad to say, everything I've been taught, I haven't been shown. He is 100% right. It doesn't negate the ones that have and that do. And for those that do, this show is because more of you all need to step up and rise up, i.e. my husband, because we've got to stop allowing people to not be drawn to what they're supposed to be drawn to. And that is God, not the acts, not the service, not what you got on Sunday, not what you understand what I'm saying.
I got a simple message, babe.
Huh?
I got a simple message, and it's just like Simply Lorraine said. It's, man, it reminds me of a story in the Bible, John chapter 9. It was about a blind man, and Christ healed him. And the The Pharisees did an investigation. They was like, what do you say? Is he the Christ or not? He says, man, whether he's the Christ or not, I can't tell you that. All I can tell you is what he's done for me. And so that's my story. All I could do is tell people what Christ has done for me. I saw Brandon say down that nowadays a lot of people don't know why they believe. They just were raised to believe. And that's true. I had to have my own encounter with Christ before it was my God. You know what I'm saying? It was my mama's God. It was my grandparents. You know what I'm saying? But now that's my God. You understand what I'm saying? And so it has to get to a point. And Christ said, if I be lifted up, I draw all men unto me. And a lot of people think that's talking about the crucifixion. It wasn't solely the crucifixion. It's if we raise him up, if we show forth those works, like Jahar was saying, he said his dad is the only Christ he knows. That word Christ means anointed one. That's all it means. You understand what I'm saying? He's saying the only anointed one I've seen walk in the shoes of the man that they say is God is you, Dad. And that is supposed to be a lot of that going on.
Ooh, that's good.
It's supposed to be a lot of that going on. People should see us and see that there's something more behind that. And you know me, I always point people, it ain't me. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just doing what I'm led to do. Sometimes I feel going against it, but I know that inner core. You understand what I'm saying? That this is a God thing. It's bigger than me. You know what I mean? And again, getting back on this whole religious kick, we made it. You gave the reference to that post on Facebook where it says the pastor is not your friend. Blah 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 blah.
It's not your equal. It's not your equal.
I'm not your equal. Right. And see, this is the thing. And I was telling you about it when you told me about it. People will play the game, though. They'll play the church politics. Like, you know, you have people who are running for president. They out kissing babies, shaking hands, showing up at baseball games, pep rallies, things like that. They're playing the part. You understand what I'm saying? And then when it comes to a point of being elected or getting that what you ran for, now you don't have anything to do with the constituency. And so that's what people do. They'll get buy-in to people's trust. You know what I'm saying? They'll buddy, friend them when they want something. And now you're getting on my nerves when you need something from me. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's that whole, I don't want to say political, but it is. It's that whole game that's being played. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know a lot of men of God, you call them, I don't care what time a night it is, they coming out. Hospitals, birthday parties, it goes on and on and on. I know true, real men of God who, you know what I'm saying? We got some other things we may not agree on, but at the heart of the heart, I know that man right there has a heart for God and God's people. And I know that's not a shadow of a doubt. So that's the thing. They'll get caught up playing the game, and then when they get what they want, it's a manipulation thing. You know what I mean? So now you have Christianity with this element of manipulation to even when it goes to tithes. And I showed you, I had printouts and we read the Bible. We walked through it. You know, there was a certain body we belonged to who was saying, well, you can't participate in ministry if you're not tithing. And I'm like, that's not biblical. You show me in the Bible where it says that. And then, you know, we pull out the same verses in Malachi where it's talking about you robbing God and things of this nature. But if you actually read what the tithe was for, the tithe was to be partaker of the person who was actually tithing it. The Levites were actually supposed to receive the tithes of the people because they had no inheritance from the land. So now you have pastors who want to say they're after the order of Levi, but we're no longer going by those standards. So it's a back and forth with Old Testament, New Testament, again, manipulated just to get what I want, you know. And so I won't get any deeper than that, but that's really where you have to know the word for yourself.
Yeah, and you're fine. Go ahead, go. It's time.
Well, like I'm saying, even with the tithes, you know, the tithes were supposed to be given to the Levites. Those were the men who ministered the things of God, who worked the temple. You understand what I'm saying? Who were doing the things of God all day, all night. They didn't have jobs. This is what we did. We served the people. You understand what I'm saying? But those were the original, where the tithes were originally supposed to go. and it was supposed to also portion was to go to help feed the orphans and the widows, things of that nature. But that's not where the tithes are going. The tithes are going into bigger churches, bigger houses for the leaders of those churches, bigger cars for the leaders of those churches, money in the bank account. Christ, man, he said, dude, let's go back to the Bible. That's all I can do. When a guy said that he wanted to follow Christ, Christ was talking about foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. He wasn't talking about how big his pad was. Man, I'm out here trying to save people lives. He wasn't talking about the size of his house. You understand what I'm saying? And now we have people who are at the forefront, and I'm not knocking any prosperity. That's not what I'm saying, but you can't make salvation and Christianity equate to prosperity. This same gospel is not going to work in a third world country, but saving their soul will. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a lot of things that have been taken out of proportion.
Yes, I love that. Jihad, Corey, you on fire. Keep it going, baby. Jihad, you and I had a conversation not too long ago where you were talking to me about, of course, you're always learning, and you've had a chance to get into different religions, study different religions. Let me not say get into, study different religions, 5%ers, this, that, and the other. And you recently came back around to, having a relationship with God, being in a relationship with God, even to the point of wanting to minister in your way, your fashion. And it blew me, not because I'm surprised, but it blew me that you were actually willing to serve and sacrifice in a manner where I know you would be transparent in a way that is not traditional. Talk to me about what helped you come to that.
I'm gonna tell you what kept me questioning it, what kept me rooted. Like I told my dad, you mentioned something earlier. He was concerned and heartbroken, and I told my dad, you don't have to be concerned about me. I'm not an atheist, but what I do is I understand God from a completely different context. Black people, we have been taught to go on what we feel. We're not taught to think. We're not taught to question anything. We go on what we feel. We want to feel good. We want to get high in the spirit. They don't even understand the spirit. What language does the spirit speak? You understand what I'm saying? So when I say that I'm a mathematical scientific mind, I'm looked upon in a bad way. Like, no, just believe, and that's just not how I'm wired. Right. God is not a dormant performer, but the believers are dormant in what they do, what they supposed to be doing, which is solving problems. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about what the church is not doing, what the church is not there. The church is a government bought institution, 501c3s. They can't do anything. They can't say anything. You understand what I'm saying? The last time I think something had happened in the hometown of Pastor Jamal Bryant, he was all radical and this, that, and the third. Next thing you know, he was off the scene. He's at New Bedford. Nobody hardly even knows. So he's playing his role. So he's being a good boy back over here in Lithonia, Georgia. So it's a reason why the church is never going to get involved in anything political, whether it's dealing with another shooting of an unarmed non-white individual, whatever the case may be. But here's the thing. The only people that know this story is my parents, and I'm going to be real quick about it, right? So I was riding through 75 South in Henry County, Georgia. Got pulled over. Anybody that lives in Atlanta knows about 75 South going through Barnesville, Lamar County, Bucks County. They profiling all day long. So we got pulled over in a brand new 1998 Jeep Cherokee coming from St. Louis. We had Missouri tags, so they ran us. I even remember the officer's name was Gribbins, and pulled us over. And me at that time, I was hot-headed, fiery temper. Me and the police officer going at it on the highway. I'm surprised he just didn't sling me in the flow of traffic. Because when I tell you I was really giving this dude lip, I was hot. I was at that point to where you see a lot of people make that dumb move where you want to take the cop out. So we ended up going to jail. Now, mind you, this is Georgia, not Missouri. Missouri, you go to jail, you can post bond that same night and be out, no problem. Georgia is completely different. And so I'm sitting in a holding tank. I'm arrogant. Yeah, my aunt gonna come get me out. You know what I'm saying? This, that, and the third. Next thing you know, they giving me orange suits. So I'm really tripping. So now I'm mad at my aunt Trish because she chose to go to choir service instead of come pick me up. So I'll say, okay, you go to choir service. I know my aunt. That's what she, that's what she love to do. I gotta respect that. Day number 2, I'm still in the jail. I'm losing it. All right, I'm losing it. Me and this white boy I ain't. It's a matter of time. I'm gonna hook with this dude. I'm losing. I can't sleep, and it wasn't out of fear. I'm just not used to being contained. So there was this one brother in there. I was just drawn to him. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people was in this jail because Georgia will come and get you. They will send bounty hunters to come and get you if you miss a court date. So it was this one guy in there, and I was losing my mind. So I approached him on the second day I was in jail. I said, hey man, I came to him because in jail you got to step to another guy, right? I said, man, I'm losing it in here, man. I don't know what's going on. For some reason, man, I just want to talk to you, right? The man told me, I've been waiting for you. Never seen this man day in my life. Now, y'all know I'm not into spooky stuff. And y'all know I'm not into, all the crazy beliefs. So I'm looking at him. He said, you in here because you haven't learned your lesson.
Ooh.
He said, you in here because you haven't learned your lesson. He said, when the cop pulled you up on the highway, did you just stand there and say, yes, sir? Or did you try to be tough and snap off? I said, well, I did the latter. So we just started going over Bible scriptures. You know what I'm saying? I really didn't want to hear no Bible scriptures at the time. But the way he broke them down to me in context, it all made sense. So at the end of the day, after I talked to this brother for the last 2 days I was in there, I finally post bail. So I the whole time talking with this guy, I never once asked him his name. I said, by the way, brother, what's your name? He said, my name is Carlos. That's my former name. So that blew me away. So
wow.
he told me that he was in there, got pulled over, and this and the third. So I had to come back to court to Georgia, November that same year. I got pulled over in like June. I had to come back to court in November. So when I came back to the courthouse, I said, hey, I want to go to the courtroom. I had been writing this guy letters just to, tell him how much I appreciated him. He grounded me, learned my lesson. So I went over to the courthouse. I said, yeah, man, his name was Carlos Washington. I said, yes, ma'am, I want to holler at Carlos Washington and this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? I just want to holler him before I go. So the lady looking through the book, she was like, no, ain't no Carlos Washington here. I said, well, it must be a mistake. I said, I was locked up with this guy, like physically. He's in this jailhouse. So they went through the records. They say they haven't had a record of a Carlos Washington ever even existed of being in that jail.
Wow.
So right then and there, I had these moments to where whatever God is, whoever God is, he's talking to me. Because there's been times where in my mind, I had a certain plan, I had a certain idea or something that I wanted to do. It didn't go through and I was full of anger. But then days, years, months later, I understand why that happened. You understand what I'm saying? So that right there always kept me close. You understand what I'm saying? I would never just disband and say there ain't no God at all. There ain't anything. But just to believe and to get high in praise, that wasn't good enough for me because I could look at the world and see that there were problems. And once again, the people who say they believe in God, the most spiritual people, the most praying people are in the worst conditions. Now, I understand it's about soul salvation, but I don't understand salvation after life if you can't have it after death, if you can't have it during life. I don't understand that. You understand what I'm saying? It never resonated with me. I don't think that I should have to live a life of bondage or bonded to a system or a certain condition and to live a certain way and to be treated a certain way. And then I get these graces and this reward after I die. It just never made sense to me. So at the end of the day, if God's people are supposed to be more than the conqueror, it needs to be seen and heard, not an idea, not a thought, not a belief. It needs to be a real live thing that people can put their finger on. If no weapon against me, if the weapons ain't prospering, then you need to show where you have power. And there is no power. We don't have any power. And I would question things because everything I've ever been taught that was a belief came from white folks. A job, a car, whatever it was created and produced by white folks. Now, either God has a contract with white people or we are seriously misled about what a blessing is. Because a lot of times people say, well, you woke up this morning, you in your good health. Your body's an innate intelligence. It can wake itself up. Lorraine explained earlier, she had an accident about the orbital bone. The body heals itself in so many different ways, but we don't know these things. I'm not saying Lorraine, but I'm just talking about us in general. We've been taught to just believe. We're not taught to dig deep. We're not taught to ask questions. We're not taught to do reasoning because we're not taught this as children first. At the end of the day, let me say this. I don't want anybody to perceive that I don't respect the elders and what they taught us. Because if you want me to be completely 100, the elders hold on, Peaches, wait a minute. The elders before us showed us how to have great human contact. They showed us how to love one another. They gave us remedies that still stand to these days. And my dad always say, he's standing on the prayers of the elders. So at the end of the day, while society is advancing, the world is advancing with technology, the one thing we haven't advanced in is just simple human contact. So I'm grateful for my elders and what they taught us. And I tell people all the time, as ironic as it sounds, if I had it to do all over again, I would love to be raised in the church, because the church, growing up in church at that time, it gave me culture. It gave me a sense of family. You understand what I'm saying? It gave me a sense of belongingness, and that, you know, at the end of the day, I had a lot of great experience growing up in church. But as I got older, I began to start to think and see things for myself. Our ancestors and our elders, some of them just didn't know better, and because they parents didn't know better, and they parents didn't know better. So we talking about tonight about traditions, relationship versus religion. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we were taught religion, we weren't taught relationships. And as you see, as time goes on, the paradigm shift is going from religion to spirituality. And as you see people begin to expand, they change, you know what I'm saying, their diet. They're more conscious of health, more conscious of childbirth. They're more conscious of diet. These are things that the former generations didn't understand. They just simply didn't know. But they gave us what they could at that time in context, and I'm grateful for them. But at the end of the day, moving forward, if we're going to be a people who claim to be a part of the Most High, what worked in 1980 and 70 and 90 is not going to work moving forward. The world is changing. So believers have to change how they move and do things. Just like Dorman saying how much you love the Lord and you know your scriptures ain't good enough. And I'm gonna say this: I respond. People who talk to me about God, when I see their personal life, I respond to what they have to say. But people who ain't living that life, I don't want to hear about God. If you can't pick up the phone and show your family members that you love them every now and then, but you pray to Jesus every night, whom you've never seen, I don't want to hear about God. If you can't, you know, if you can't just do basic, simple things as a believer with a God that you've never met, you can't see and hear, but you disrespectful or have resentment towards the very physical man you see every day, I don't want to hear about God. And I'm going to bring up my aunt, Doris. My aunt Doris is a real one. You understand what I'm saying? And I respect her ministry and I respect her practice. Because you want to know why? Because my auntie stays in contact with the youth. My auntie ain't never once judged us for nothing. My auntie ain't never once beat us over the head with the Bible. She loved us unconditionally. My auntie kept the door open when me and my son weren't even talking. So when it comes to God, I hear anything my aunt Doris has to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And she's got a comment up. Simply Lorraine, you want to take that?
Okay, this is some heavy territory. In all of our getting, we must get an understanding. Romans 1:28. A reprobate is a point of no return. God is very much real, everybody. He knows all, hears all. Wherein is our power? Where is our power? Our opinions cannot stand up against our opinions.
Right. Corey.
Yes.
Speak on that.
Absolutely. Simply Ray, you got anything?
Man, just with coming off of what Jihad just said and what Gwendolyn said beforehand, yesterday I was talking with a neighbor and something just came to mind. I do believe we're living in a time where there are many who have been called and even chosen. But for whatever reason, they may be scared, walked away from their call or their purpose. Based on the way religion is today, may not be willing to step in that role. And, you know, understanding when there is a call and a purpose on your life, you can't live the way you want to. Period.
Amen.
So that may be some of the reasons why some people don't step into it. But what came to mind was, and I'm going to use Harriet Tubman, and this is why. In the physical sense, I would use Harriet Tubman because there are souls tied to each and every one of us that have to each and every one of us who may see where somebody may see God in you. And for Harriet, during her time on earth and her 19 trips back, if you would take it in this content, she had saved and brought back to freedom almost 300 people. So for many who don't step into their call, there's many people who may not make it to their freedom. And that's just understanding that it's a relationship.
Yeah.
There is a God, that there is a higher power.
And I love that you use that Harriet Tubman analogy because she didn't have a Bible. She had a relationship. She had a faith. She had a belief. She had an ear for God that guided her. She didn't have a Bible. And that to me is what we have to make sure we, again, I'm not saying that the Bible is not a necessary tool. It's not a guiding light. But if you don't have a Bible and if you don't have a church, that relationship alone is going to create a foundation where you're still able to hear from God. You are still able to get your directives. You are still able to have the basic instructions before leaving this earth. But the relationship in itself is going to always, in my opinion, be my saving grace. It is not a religion out there that can convince me of anything other than that relationship. When I didn't have, before my husband bought me the Life Application Bible, and I had the King James Bible, the only one I was raised off of, and I did not understand all of the thou, thoueth, here cometh, thou, thee, thoueth. When I finally was able to understand it, before I got the Life Application, there was still a will and a desire that was burning in me to really know God. And so my experience, I was able to then connect it to the word. So if you don't have that physical thing that you can obtain, there's still, I want us to make sure that we understand that relationship. I tell my children right now, we try to do away with the religion, but we put emphasis on the relationship. And Brendan commented earlier about, everybody's blessed with gifts and talents. He's commented twice. So that says a lot about an 18-year-old that want to be right here, because he's a lot like you, Jihad. He will ask questions. He don't care who you are, how old you are, how young. Brandon will ask questions. You can't just tell him something, right, Corey Poe, and he take it for what it is. He's going to ask questions, and you have absolutely got to make it make sense with him. But what he does have is a relationship. And what I don't do, like we were taught, no pun intended, like Jihad said, I absolutely respect it because I know they gave us what they knew to give us. We do not tell him how to have his relationship with God. Long as you have a relationship with him, what you and him do from that point on is on you. But know that relationship is vital to your survival, period. So that's the thing that I love about you mentioning Harriet Tubman. She knew that relationship alone was vital to her survival and saving many others. Corey Poe.
Yeah, I got a couple things I wanted to say. Staying in the same vein, along the same lines of where we are. You and I had this conversation. We agreed to disagree. It was a back and forth. But I absolutely will say, I mean, there's Bible evidence, because I love my word, It's not based on what people tell me. It's how I get in, dig it, and find myself. And simply, Lorraine, we briefly touched on it the other day when you were here. And miss you, by the way. I love the conversation that we have. So we were talking about it started out in Hebrews, but I mentioned that there's some good reading in Romans chapter 4, and it talks about Abraham. And Paul raised the question. He said, was Abraham saved before or after circumcision? Because circumcision, what that was, it was a sign of the Israelites of an agreement and a pact with God that he'll forever be their God. It was a form of salvation, if you will. It was a type of being filled with the Holy Spirit, being sealed, having that forever covenant with God. So the point Paul was making is like, even before he had the circumcision, he was like, he believed God. And he said, because he believed God, it was imputed. That word imputed means it was credited, put into his account. It says he was imputed with righteousness. So God said he's righteous simply because he believes me. He believes the things that I tell him. And he didn't tell him in a Bible. There was no Bible for Abraham to have to read to know God. There was a communion that God had with Abraham that he heard in his heart. You know, so Gwen, you're not far off with that, baby. And I won't say that you are, but you know, if you can read the word of God, I'm a firm believer that you should get in there and allow the Holy Spirit to lead you and to guide you into all truth, because that's his role. Also, when we're talking about relationship versus religion, Moses, there was no Bible. All of the patriarchs that we had back in the past, well, most of them anyway, Moses began write the Old Testament or the Pentateuch, first 5 books of the Bible. So they didn't have those scriptures. All they had was the stories handed down by the elders. All they had was the experience, the one-on-one with God. If you're looking for him and you holler out for him, he will find you. He will speak to your heart. He will speak to your mind, and he will speak to your spirit. And I'll be remiss if I didn't say this, just solely based on what I believe. And again, I tell you that I'm a follower of Christ. I believe that Christ is the way, in my opinion, because I don't believe that we can live a life, a standard holy enough for a holy God. There had to be a sacrifice. There had to be an exchange. Somebody had to die, because the wages of sin is death. Somebody got to die. You understand what I'm saying? It's not a physical death. It was a spiritual, eternal death. And because Christ met that standard, that's what we believe into. That's our righteousness, because we believe in the works of Christ. It's imputed, put it into our account as righteousness, believing in the works of Christ. I'll say that. Last thing, just wanted to get back to what you asked me to speak on. Saying this is some heavy territory. We must get an understanding. Romans 1:28 says a reprobate is a point of no return. When we speak about a reprobated mind in Romans chapter 1, people say, how do I know there's a God? And Paul is given, he's basically saying God exposes himself everywhere. He said, the sun, it rises, don't it? He said, in nature, you see these huge trees. He said, you see the stars in the sky. He said, this thing didn't come out of chaos. It had to be a creator with extreme power and order. So it says God reveals himself even through nature. And it says once we deny the existence of God, it says God gives us over to a reprobated mind. And with that reprobated mind, it simply means there's no limit to what you will do. Meaning kill as much as you want. Fornication, fornicate as much as you want. Adultery, adulterize as much as you want, and without a violation of conscience. It says once we get to that point to where our senses are dulled because we don't have God in the forefront of our thoughts or in our mind. And that's what I tell people all the time. Long as you keep a God conscience, you understand what I'm saying? And have that communication with him, whether you're praying on your knees or praying in your mind. You got to have a God conscience, because without God being in your conscience, there's no limit to what we're able to do. And once we get to that point, that's where it gets to a point of no return. Because in Ephesians chapter 4, I know I'm taking you through the Bible, but I told you that's my thing. That's what I do. It says that God gave them over to a reprobated mind. Didn't say God gave them one. He says just because you failed to stop at the caution light, the check engine light came on, you didn't get a check in with me. He's saying that then he gives you over to that mind that's trying to take over. He says, okay, you don't want me in there? I'm out. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like God gave them over to their desires because their desires were more so important to them than, again, keeping that God conscience. Even if we fail along the way, if we got that God conscience, we don't get so far that we can't get back.
Right, right. Good God. Whew.
No, that was good. That was good. That was good.
Y'all, I had to do it to him because it's the only way he was gonna break out. Come on, baby. You preaching tonight. And I love it because he absolutely believes in an non-traditional, unorthodox kingdom kids lifestyle way of teaching. I tell him all the time he's a teacher. And so that's now y'all get a chance to see what I'll be talking about. But in saying all of that, we are still here to solve problems as well. The problem that I would like for us to speak to is what Brandon said, what Jihad said, and Simply Lil Ray. I know you are, starting to see some of this as well. What do we tell our youth? Because again, what they're being shown on most of the platforms that they are on, and then what they're being taught or what they're hearing. Let me say that.
Mm-hmm.
What they're hearing on most of the platforms that they are on social media versus what they are seeing is two total different things. Back to, again, what you said, Jihad. They're not seeing the leadership. They're hearing it, but they're not seeing it anymore. And that disturbs me because we don't want them to be led astray by the smoke and mirror. We don't want them to be drawn, just like we don't want, quote unquote, rap to be a bad influence. Please forgive me, and I'm trying to tread lightly on this. Help me, baby. But I feel like some of what is being taught is becoming more of a bad influence than drawing people near. And it's scary. They don't want to believe the way that we were taught. It scares them. Please, somebody speak to that.
I think one of the first ways to combat that would be just with the simple truths about God. And that starts at home. But we're living in a day and age where a lot of that isn't at home. So, I mean, that's where God's children got to just stand up, period.
True.
If they call, they got to step out.
True.
I mean, because like Russell Robertson said, the men of God are human too. We all fall short of the glory of God. And that's where we live in a generation where people are idolized. Let's call it what it's grandpa, uncle, a teacher, a basketball player, a football player, and then as soon as somebody does something human,
we judge them.
They're shown.
Yeah.
When it's almost like we're human, but we're expected to be inhuman. Nobody sees the humanity in a human, in a individual. They don't want to see the humanity in somebody that has been called to a higher standard. They're still human.
Right.
That's why you can't let people put you on platforms. One thing about me is I've always had my hands like this. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want you to think anything more of me than who I am. I am a man with a purpose, with a calling, with a gift. That's it. I'm a man. And you missed the first part because of the other stuff. But you understand what I'm saying? I am a man. And we got to help people to understand that that's the whole point. And Jihad, you mentioned earlier talking about the graces that are in the afterlife. Those graces and promises are right now. And I understand the point that you was talking about. We do lack the power. And I give you that hands down, which is what we're talking about right now. For some reason, we haven't tapped into the power or allowed that power to allow us to propel us to the forefront, to just like what I was speaking to earlier, Christ being lifted up and exalted and drawing all men unto himself. And you're exactly right with that. But getting back to what my point was being, that the grace of God, we deny people the opportunity to see the grace of God because we try to cover up our shortcomings. You understand what I'm saying? Because we know that people are going to bring us down, but God is going to raise us up. That's the beauty of grace. You understand what I'm saying? When we fall, he picks us back up and puts us where we need to be. But if we're hiding our faults and our flaws from people, we're denying them the power of God being on full display through our fault. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's why I always say you got to keep your hands out here. People got to see. You know what I'm saying? You can't sit on them trying to hide the things that you're doing, right, wrong, and indifferent. My MO is not to go out here and do something stupid. But if I do something stupid because I am human, understand God's not through with me. There's a video on Facebook going around, and I love it. It's a pastor preaching. He got a $20 bill. He crinkle it up. He throw it on the ground. He stepped on it, and he smushed the foot on it. He picked it back up, brought it back out. He said, "Now, is this still a $20 bill?" And they was like, "Yeah." And he said, "It's the same way with us. Life might knock us down. We get stepped on, bruised, abused." He said, "But we never lose our intrinsic and our intricate value. We never lose our value." You understand what I'm saying? And that's why I say we got to be real and authentic with the youth. You understand what I'm saying? With everybody, and quit trying to make it like Christianity is a game of perfection. It's not that. Christ said he came to heal the sick. And when he spoke about sick, he was talking about those with a sin disease. Me. You understand what I'm saying? But if we act like we're healed all the time, instead of letting people know that, man, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We put on this facade as if we're better than we are. We're not. I'm sick like you sick. I'm not sick as I used to be. I still got a little cough. You understand what I'm saying? But my little cough ain't no worse than your runny nose. It's still a symptom of a sickness. And we're getting to judging people because my sin may not look like your sin, but it's all sin, but it's all still covered by grace. So
Jihad, what is it that you, being a very hands-on parent, you are very active in your life. Let me just say, not your children. This man is active in every child that comes across his path, and especially our young men. So when it comes to relationship and religion, what would you want them to know to give them something that would carry them in the future?
How to solve problems. You know, and I don't mean to offend nobody when I say this, but whatever created the universe wants us to tap into the logic. Logic came with the universe, and we have problems. The creator gave us eyes to see, hands, legs, a brain, you know what I'm saying? But everybody don't use the mind to solve problems. So when I deal with these young men, and to go back to answer, I want to bite into that question about the youth. I think Simply Ray was talking about it, about the youth, how it's kind of scary, how they don't believe. They have a lot of anger. They're challenged. I'm inclined to say that the reason why the youth are the way that they are because the adults are not solving the problems for our youth generation to generation. They've been taught to go to school, get straight A's. They still face problems. They've been taught they got a college degree, they'll get this job and earn a lot of money. They still face problems. They've been taught to be obedient or go to church. You believe in God, you pray. They still face problems. And I think a lot of times when we don't understand that we're not solving problems to produce justice, this is what induces mental illness. This is what induces people to be angry, This is what it has a lot of our children in jail. A lot of our children are coping with life through weed and alcohol, through sex, and or even through social media, because we're not solving the problems. So, and I realize this because I think a lot as a basketball coach. I would always wonder why when I tell these young men about basketball, I'm teaching them, and I know my stuff because my daddy Charlie Red, and that's my daddy's the greatest basketball man I've ever met. But then when a white male comes in the gym, they become a model citizen. And I finally figured it out. How are you going to tell me, and this is through the game of basketball subconsciously, how are you going to teach me about a game? You can't even teach me about life. Now, mind you, most of our youth are without a father in the home. How is it that you going to tell me to be a man and you get a check cut from a man? You understand what I'm saying? Why are you not solving my problems, but you're criticizing me for my behaviors and the way that I'm acting? And when that became crystal clear to me, because our children, both male and female, have never seen us in a position of power to impact their lives. But we give them all this advice about how to go about life and to do this, that, and the third, but we don't teach them how to solve problems. So not only that, I teach them how to solve problems, I teach them codes. You know what I'm saying? Things to say, things not to say, things you do, things you don't do in any environment, whether it's at home, whether it's at family, whether it's on the job, whether it's in a social setting, no matter if it's in a business setting, you always are on code and you be selective with the words that you use. At the end of the day, I don't really get into the belief thing because when I'm talking to a child, that's somebody's child. I don't know what they're teaching their child, and I respect the parents that are at home. But when they come in my presence, a lot of times I show them most of it and I tell them, but it's all about solving problems. If you got an issue, don't get emotional. Don't go smoke weed. Don't go make a baby. Sit down and think about how to respond and solve that problem that you're dealing with and do it through logic and not emotions. That's just simple.
So do you
That's dope.
I know. I absolutely love that. So I know for me, I don't know why I'm weird about people saying, what I do, everything I do, it's a form of ministry. I guess for me, I have to really sit and figure out why that bothers me. Because again, I just love to serve. I love to give. But do you see that as a form of ministry that you give the youth, you give your children, even in helping them to solve problems? Because I hear so much love. I hear so much of what Brandon says as his basic instructions as far as believing, just treating people right, loving people, doing what you know to be right, just being good to people. Do you see it as simple as that, along with solving problems? Because that's all I hear coming off of you is how much you truly care about the people. And I hear that and see that in your actions more than I do most of the ministers that I know. Is that something that you would call a part of or a ministry for you? Or is it just your understanding of how to be?
I think that sometimes solely depends on that child, because what I am to one child, I'm something else to another. I might be a minister to one child, but to another child, I might be a father figure, or I might be that brother, or I might be that adult energy that they don't like, but they have to respect and know that I'm telling them the truth. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's all perceived how one would take it. I don't say minister because I give ministers respect because they actually take time to study what they do and how they. So I wouldn't say ministry. Maybe just being an adult. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we've got black manhood has gotten so far away from what it used to be. These days it could be perceived as ministry, when back in the day it wasn't ministry. It was just simply what black men did. If that makes any sense. But I see what you're saying, and I do take that as a compliment. But I don't know if I would call it ministry or anything like that. But I do love you. And let me say this: I need people to understand that I don't want people to think this. Y'all know I'm at one point I was in that place of pro-blackness. It's for any youth, white or black, Arab, Pakistani, Asian. It don't matter. I come in contact with a lot of people, not just our people. So I want people to be clear about that. You know what I mean? But I am, when it comes to us, we're in a unique position. So I am different in so many ways. But I guess my daddy always say I remind him a lot of my grandfather. You know what I mean? I just love the people. And I mean, I have to be transparent, y'all. I don't know. God, I don't know. I don't understand some things. I don't have a problem saying that. But I guess in time it be revealed. I will not sit up here and tell you that I don't get up in the morning during my meditations and just reveal yourself to me. You know what I'm saying? The way you reveal yourself to anybody else is different, because I know you didn't give me all these tools and gifts for nothing. That has to be used for something. So if you exist, I need you to show me, because I know what my assignment is, but I need you to show me. Prove it to me, because I just can't go. I'm not a believer. I'm a person of logic, and I'm not knocking anybody believe. I'm just simply telling y'all about me. Like, I just never could go on. Just like when you go to ball games or the championships and you see the fans in the stands and they all got believe signs, but the team still lost. There has to be some type of mathematical equation of how to win games, more so than just bringing banners and saying you believe. And I'm just speaking for myself, and I'm just being real, y'all. I'm not trying to come off as I don't know everything. People, y'all get on the phone, I tell you, hey, I'm still learning, but I want to understand God unlike never before. Jesus. And I need you to reveal yourself to me the way I need to understand you. So therefore, if there is a work in me, because when you step out, you know what I'm saying, you have to step right. Somebody said it earlier, you got to walk the walk and you got to talk the talk. And I ain't trying to step wrong. I don't want to be in a mega church. I don't want to be a part of Mega Fest. I want to get out there and help the people. And since I'm on this, let me give props to my cousin William Francis and TT, because they do so much work.
Yes,
so much work. They do, man. They do so much work, and TT. If you follow TT, she's about healing and health every day on her page. Yes. But the realest people get the smallest. They get the lowest thing, the minimum likes. Nobody wants to hear nothing real. But I'm gonna give you your flowers tonight. Y'all put in work.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Yeah. We here to serve people, and I don't have a problem serving people. And I'm gonna say this, going back to what I said earlier, because I'll try to be short and quick and get to it. Here's another reason why I know it's in limbo. And I told my dad, you don't have to worry about me, because I think the wheels are spinning back, but differently than how you understand it, right?
Yeah.
Last night, my partner told me to go to a spot. I hate going to this place because for some reason, it's just something about me. I intimidate bouncers. I'm 5'9". You know what I'm saying? I'm not the tallest, biggest dude. But for some reason, I have this look that bothers them. So every time I go, man, me and this dude get into it every time. It's almost to the point like Tom and Jerry, like, all right, here I come. What you got to say today? I left angry last night. I really wanted to punch this. I was like, man, today's the day. I left angry, and I'm texting my friend. I'm cussing him out, man. Don't you ever tell me to come back out, because we had a buddy in town who's going to watch the game. And then I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and go to the laundromat and wash my clothes, get it over with before I get my little run. And then I'm at the laundromat, and the brother walked up to me. I know he was struggling, man. It almost brought me to tears. He was like, man, hey, I don't have no money. I just need to wash my clothes. I need some detergent. You know what I'm saying? Can I borrow your detergent? No, you can have my detergent. And it was right then and there where I understood that I was supposed to be at the laundromat instead of eating wings and watching the game. Yeah. So at the end of the day, stuff like that it doesn't go blind. I'm like, what was that about? What was that about? Why did that happen? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So y'all, I'm there, but I'm just not gonna say I understand God. Right. No. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand through belief. I only understand things through action. Because God, if He exists, that means anything that exists vibrates. Anything that exists, you can, just like they say in the church, you can't see wind, but you can feel it. It exists. I need to feel that existence, but I need it to make sense, not just believe.
Let me tell you something.
Yes, ma'am, Miss Doris.
I'm over here, baby. I'm holding myself, and I know you told me don't do that.
Got me over here rocking.
You got me get ready to take off.
Hey, Jahan, I got vibrations over this way, bro. I don't know what you got going on.
You on your way. When you said I call out and I ask Him to reveal Himself, good God Almighty.
Yeah, I felt that. I did. Yeah, I did. I felt that.
And you know, it's crazy. You know, I was in the nations of 5%ers. You know, I studied 120. I retained 120 lessons in 20 days. And a lot of people in the nation say that's hardly ever been done. And when I finally begin to see the bigger picture, that's a religion too. And I began to speak with a lot of brothers. I mean, literally, it was like Malcolm X when he left the mosque. Like they looking for me. Like you sent your flag back to, you know, Harlem, which is called Mecca, to the school of Allah in Mecca, and they was like, you did this, and all the gods of earth were calling me, what you doing? You know what I'm saying? Because you know, in that nation, we call what the Christians believe in a mystery God. But my thing to them is problem solving is a mystery with this nation. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it with the 5%ers. I haven't seen it with the Moors. I haven't seen it with the Hebrews, the Sunni Muslims. I haven't seen it with the Nuwabians. We don't solve problems, but you just retaining knowledge. Since then, a good brother of mine, I stay in contact. I got 2 good brothers, and we have these talks. And I say, well, if we teach that the black man is God, everything has to have a source. Now, I'm dealing with them from the 5% concept because you have to deal with people where they at. I said, just think about this now. We base a lot of this on we base this on the obvious genetics that we can't be wiped away. Fine, I get it. But I say, if we teach that the black man is God, then God has to have a source. Nothing comes from nothing. And you said it earlier, nothing comes out of chaos. You understand what I'm saying? So with that thought, and you know, it's a lot of struggle because just like with people that believe something for so long, you present them with a new diet. It's like if you go vegan, you've been eating meat your whole life. It's not something you're going to switch to overnight. So now they start to be like, you know, there might be some truth to this.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people walking away and be like, logically speaking, because I see where the world is going. And my daddy said all the time, prophecy. Everything that was written is taking place. So what do we do about this? To this question. So sometimes evidence, it don't always come through a belief, but it's like right there, dude. Like that's something that was said that I see that's coming real. So we can't deny this. So we have to pay attention to this. So now we got to start to think differently. We got to think differently because all of that is you led there because of the system that you live in, which is racism and white supremacy. So you became a 5%er to give you some type of root and grounding, to give you a peace of mind, but not to solve problems.
And I absolutely, man, listen, you on fire and you don't even know it. That's the beauty about it. That's the beauty about it. You preaching and you don't even know it.
Don't even know it.
Don't even know it. Okay? Come on, cousin Doris. He on his coming.
Don't even know it.
I gotta give a shout out to a minister that I've met and seen years back. And I've seen him in spurts. And then, of course, he was one of our first show, our guest on our show here live. Pastor Kaysen. Listen, this man is everything that I believe we need in 2021. It's the transparency. He's very transparent. You know, the kind of people that use themselves as an example. Like I say with my kids, I was the dare, I was the what not to do, the after school special right here, up close and personal. I love that about him. And Jihad, I know you and I spoke about that. Corey Poe, Simply Ray, we speak about that transparency all day long. And I believe that is what it's going to take to draw people near. You know what I'm saying? Stop putting on these facades. It's not about your pretty flyer. It's not about your cute suit. It's not about, you know, how loud you can hoop and holler, but what are you saying? And how is it relating? I think, Jihad, you mentioned earlier the language. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Understanding that language that was being spoken. And I think that's something that we have to do. Really focus on being transparent. No, everything about the church is not wrong. We're not saying that. And please, if you're hearing that, please understand, and I'm correcting that. We're not saying everything is wrong, but we are definitely saying, and I agree with Jihad and Corey Poe, and even, you know, Simply Lorraine, there is an involvement that has to take place. We have to grow. We have to meet people where they are. And I think one thing I do believe we lack in the buildings now is that transparency. Be real, be 100. If you gonna teach, like Corey Post said, that Old Testament, don't forget to bring us over to the New Testament and put us under grace where we are. Or give us an opportunity, because you have a choice. If you want to live under the curses and you want to, whatever you want to believe is what we're saying. You can do that. But give me the choice if I want to live under grace. You know what I'm saying? I don't think, I've said it before, and thank God for my husband, because he helps me with my word, and because me and my problem, Jihad, it's my mouth.
Big
It is
old
my
mouth.
mouth. And Lord, he had to reel me in one day, because I was on the phone with this situation where he was literally demoted from being a youth minister because he wouldn't agree to a contract of tithing the way that man wanted him to. Never looking at his heart for giving, never even looking at maybe he gave more than what the tithing would be, just simply being caught up in the politic and the business of it all. You understand what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, forgetting that God is going to look at this man's heart. And that's what I want to say, that I believe we have to get back to that kind of transparency. What is at the root of your heart? Because you can go sing the roof off, sister. You can go every Sunday and go to 3 service in that Sunday. But if your heart ain't right, if you're not talking about, if what comes out of your mouth is something that does not edify God, and we're not talking about, oh, you mentioned it, Jihad, the deity. If we can't get to that, we will get nowhere in Christianity and in religion. And so I know Christianity and religion can control the deity for me. They can't control my relationship. They can't control if I want to go out right now and get 10 or 12 kids and start my own church step team.
Right.
And if I want to go and tithe down the street to the shelter, nobody can control that.
Right.
Because I'm not doing it for the people in this building. I'm doing it to make sure that everything I do is pleasing to God. And I'm doing it because that's really what's at the root of my heart. That's who I am, in the building or outside of the building. But since we do have the temples, I think that I would love to see way less man and way more God. And I would love to see men like you, Jihad, women, evangelists like you, Simply Lorraine, who keeps me grounded in my word, who is going to encourage me not to do anything that's not going to elevate me, first spiritually as a woman of God. I would like to see more of you all, Corey Poe, more of you all. This is what we need, and this is why we did the show. Because I think that we have got to start speaking out against, if it ain't right, baby, it's wrong. We're not judging anybody, but I can tell you that when I felt you, Jihad, I felt you because it is the desire that I have. I want to know you more, God. I need you to, you know what I'm saying? Reveal yourself to me. Reveal, guide me, lead me, order my steps. Remove, matter of fact, all of me, and fill me up with your spirit, because I'm going to get in the way. And I think that's what's happening. I want to know, Jihad, I got the questions you got. And I want answers like you want answers. And I can remember being a little girl and hearing you don't question God, but you absolutely do.
If it's a relationship.
It's a relationship. In order for you to know how to treat me, Corey Poe, I gotta tell you what I want. I gotta tell you what I need. And then you're gonna meet the need if you value me, if you love me. You know what I'm saying?
And
And
sometimes I don't understand and I have to ask. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's
yes.
a relationship. That's a
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah. 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 And
And
go ahead, Simply Ray.
you said something a minute ago where you said, well, right is right and wrong is wrong. And again, Jihad spoke on it earlier where, like we're living in where we're seeing more prophecies being revealed. We're seeing them come true. We're living in a day and age where right is wrong and wrong is right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
As far as
Oh, say that again.
right is wrong and wrong is right.
Yeah.
We're dealing with where if you're doing the right thing, it's not the end thing per
Yeah.
se. But I like where Brandon had went, where he says we are all blessed with gifts. No gift outweighs the other.
Yeah.
And with him saying that is if we all would just figure out what our gifts are by having a relationship with God through Christ, then guess what? We would lack nothing because every gift serves a purpose for someone else, not necessarily for yourself. But that's
Say
going,
that again. Say that again. Say it again.
you're going to have to sacrifice who you want to be who you're called to be, to use your
Come
gifts
on,
the way He
sis.
created them in you so that it will serve the community, it will serve your family, it will
Hey,
serve nations.
y'all know what?
Look,
Y'all gonna leave me alone
look, okay.
tonight.
And that's the difference.
Sacrifice who you wanna be for who you are called to be.
Yeah.
Shut up, girl, and keep talking.
Listen. Baby,
Look,
listen.
y'all, I'm sorry if I'm bouncing, but
Oh.
this all the control I got tonight.
I can
Those
just say
vibrations Jahar was talking about. I'm telling you.
2014, since that accident, he's been dealing with me. He has been
Yeah,
dealing with me
yeah.
and just pointing out just through different aspects of my life, different places, different people, different things. With the accident, I was hanging with some friends and listen, I know there's a God because I ain't who I used to be. I showed completely out. Completely out. And then a little bit later, he had to tap on me like, hey,
Reel it
okay.
back in.
Well, it was like I felt like I had dealt with that already, but I was in a circumstance, in a situation that I hadn't been in so long that something was tapped into. And I was like, whoa. And he had to tap on me. He was like, now you can deal with that too. I need you to get rid of that too.
Man,
Get
good
to
God.
a place to where you're in a circumstance, in a situation where, like we've been talking about with the youth, you can get so angry that you black out.
Yeah.
Happen, and there may be no turning back.
Right.
Not that you still can't be saved by grace, but you can't undo some of the things and the consequences that's coming with it. That's for sure.
Yes, ma'am. Let's make that clear.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Some of them consequences, baby, you gonna have to walk them out.
And I think, that's literally, I made a post that there is a difference in transparency and maturity. And what you just described was spiritual maturity. You know what I mean? It's one thing, we got this saying, we're going to keep it real. You know what I'm saying? But if keeping it real, draw someone the other direction, then closer and near to him, That's a problem. You got to be mature in how you keep it real, because again, we all have a purpose. We all have a purpose. So that purpose, again, like Jihad, Corey Poe, Simply Ray, myself, Brandon is watching us. Elijah is watching us. Lyric and Adriana, they're watching us. Little Peaches, she's watching us. We have, that's the obligation that we do have. We are obligated to lead them, but love them enough to lead them in the right direction. I tell my kids all the time, I may have done this, but let me tell you what's right. I don't take away the fact that there were falls, plural, from grace many times.
Yes, ma'am.
But I make sure that I always tell them the right direction to go. And letting them know, again, you're going to have your own journey, your own story. But at the end of the day, we have to understand we have to be accountable for the purpose and the calling that is predestined on our lives. And I see a lot of laziness in the spiritual realm when it comes to those that you spoke about being called and being chosen. Many are called, few are chosen. It's a lot of laziness now. You know what I mean? That I personally see. Because Corey Poe, you mentioned earlier, you said Jesus got up out in these streets. He was in the streets. Right?
Absolutely.
He got in these streets.
Absolutely.
And that's where we have to go. We got to stop trying to be so bougie and cute and get out here, you know what I'm saying? And like they say in the hood, get it out the mud. We got to go where they are. And again, Jihad, not just because you're on the platform and here, but that is the one thing I admire about you. You are willing to go where many that are called and many that are chosen are not willing to go. And to me, that's the beginning of solving a great problem. We got to go where many don't want to go, because it's rough out there what you do on many levels. You know what I'm saying? But you sacrifice every day for the greater cause and the greater good. And I love that. And I think that is the one thing that if I had to say, I need to see that. Hear me saying, I'm in the pews. I'm learning. I'm here seeking. I'm chasing. I need to see that. If any ministers is watching, any pastors is watching, I just need to see the transparency. I need y'all to get out here and get grimy and get dirty with it. Go where nobody's willing to go. I need to know that's the kind of sacrifice that we have for each other. We got to get buildings. Go ahead, Corey.
And even with that, what we're speaking to and speaking of, you don't need a whole Facebook post to show that you out doing what. I've always felt you feeding the hungry. Why you gotta post it? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Why is it gotta be a big deal?
You can't stand that.
Yeah.
I hate it. I really do, because that's not what I do it for.
Right.
I do it for the people who I'm doing it with. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You make a difference in their life. People ain't got to see me doing that. And when we talk about getting out here in these streets, it's going to be whosoever you come across. God's going to put people in your path to where I'm called to these people at this point in time. Everything doesn't have to be on a grand scale, because you have to understand, if I do it for one and one do it for two does it for four, it's a multiplication process that goes on there. It takes time for discipleship. Discipleship is something that's refined. It's not something you do in 1 or 2 days. It takes time. You understand what I'm saying? So it ain't like you're just doing something to be doing it. And that's why with me, I take my time and I'm choosy. I know where God wants me to be, and when I'm at that place God wants me to be, God to give me the patience to deal with the person, with the people, or whatsoever, because I know that God is doing a work in them. And I came to grips a long time ago. Me and my brother, he used to say, "Man, I see you doing this and impacting millions." So I thought it was going to be something with a spotlight, TV camera. You understand what I'm saying? But then the more I got to understanding and talking with God, I understand that I'm doing that in the places He send me to, whether it's behind prison doors, whether it's at nursing homes. You understand what I'm saying? Those people impact other people, even if you don't have direct contact with those people. So you got to understand there's profit in all labor. So wherever God has you, that's where you need to be and represent. One more thing, and I'm gonna let it go. You can take my mute, you can take my microphone.
Not your mute, ain't you, Mike?
My mute. You know, so I try to hold it. Y'all can take my mute. Yeah. I'm being silly, but I wanted to speak about the pandemic. We talked about how the churches had to shut down during that pandemic, and it's so like God to do so. He has so many different purposes through one event, and I believe one of those events were that you don't have to be in this house to be in the house. You understand what I'm saying? I think that God did that to show that I'm God in the building, outside the building, while you sleep, while you awake. He wanted to show His greatness, His power, His majesty. And it surpassed and went past what any man could get in there and preach on a Sunday. Like you said, Gwen, it was one of those things where you really had to have an encounter with God to know where your next meal was coming from. If He's going to keep you safe, He's able to keep you from pestilence. He's kept us. We ain't had no shot, no immunizations, none of that. But let me tell you, God, you understand? It's hit all the way around us, and we were in contact because we called to serve and love, because those are the people we love. We in the midst of it. But when I'm telling you, God is a keeper. He is so real. And like I said, it's like the simple man in John chapter 9. I can't say if he who y'all say he is. All I can tell you is what he's done for me. Corey Pope, mic drop out.
I love it.
Say that. And to say that we have been on it for weeks, but also with the pandemic, I think it was also to make us look at our front door. Deal with your household. Deal with at home. Deal with your family.
Yeah.
Deal with your four walls.
Yeah.
Because He does everything decent and in order.
Ooh, what? Say it again.
He does everything decent and in order.
And I just had that conversation with Paul, my brother Paul, today. He said, what is your target audience? You know, what is the show? Who are you targeting? What is it for? Is it just for Black people? And I said, no, it's for families. It's for the conversations that we have behind closed doors. It's for healing. It's for teaching, and it's to learn. But at the end of the day, it is definitely a sweep around your own front door before you sweep around anyone else. I don't think we can attack or even talk about other ethnicities until we are at a place where we are doing things decent and in order. And that seems like the hardest thing for us to address as a culture, because I say it all the time, stop me when I'm lying. These are things that it's so hard for us to have these hard conversations, but that are necessary. I want us to be better first. We have to start at home first. Everything starts at home. This is not an attack. Mm-hmm. Thank you. It's not an attack on, African American, Black pastors, ministers, evangelists, whatever, the church. This is just a call to rise to the occasion. You know what I mean? Be everything that God has predestined and literally birthed inside of you to be. Be your purpose. Get back on track. Stop losing focus and losing sight of what matters. Um, and that's what it's for. We're starting at home, and then we can bring in everybody else. It's the same as the Black Lives Matter, real briefly. We could stump our fists and put our posters up and, rant and rave and all of that, but we got to first learn to matter to each other. And I think, again, the root of that is love. And everybody that says they believe in God, if you believe in God, then God is love. That's exactly what we should be exuding every day to one another. And whatever your purpose or calling is, we should be exuding love. And it's an agape love that he has for us. So there should be no haters. There should be no judgment. There should be no messy. You understand? Because everything should be done decent and in order. If you fall, and you will, just get back up and be intentional about being better as a people, as a body. One body in Christ. One body. That's, my check out. My check on. Jihad, you want to say your last piece before we go?
I do, but I told myself I'm gonna do something. I have to speak on this tonight for my last piece. First of all, just off the side of the note, I want to get this off my chest. I want to give a shout out to the family of young lady Diane. There's a young lady I've known, and I know through a mutual person. She was found deceased. She was a missing persons. So, but I simply wanted to end my night on was when it comes to our young ladies, I need y'all to be more conscious about the men that you're dating. I need you to be more conscious about letting somebody know where you are at. I need y'all to understand that when you are out in public, or if you're out with your child, when people try to create a diversion to snatch your child, I need you to understand when you out at the grocery store, if somebody leaves a note on your car, your trunk is open, or somebody's following you, I need y'all to become conscious, because missing children and missing women is something that is near and dear to my heart. I was very heavy-hearted when I heard the news. This is very unfortunate, but it's happening all too much. And I can attest to it because I had 5 minutes of terror when I thought somebody snatched peaches up right up under me, right outside my own front door. So tonight, my parting message is for young women and people all together. Be more conscious when you out in public. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of those who are around you that can seem to follow you every place that you go, whether you're at a family entertainment center or you're in the grocery store or somebody's following you from a gas station. Be very mindful. Use your phone. Use your location. Let somebody know where you at all times. This is a serious situation with these missing children and these missing women, and it's a political agenda. Okay. People move in groups, they organize and do these things in groups. It's not like it's just some person coming to snatch you up or put something in. It's different these days. So that's just something I really want. It was on my heart, been on my heart the whole show, but I want to end my night with that. With our young ladies, I'm just asking y'all to be more careful about your whereabouts and your movement. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to Paige Bucher tonight on the ESPY Awards, who did something. She did something so phenomenal. She is no telling what's going to happen behind what she said tonight, but tonight that was a where was you at when she said that moment. Yeah. The athlete, which is a white female, Paige Bucher, I just want to give her a rose tonight. I appreciate her for what she said and what she done tonight. The ESPYs, that's classic. That is classic, and I'm pretty sure you all will see it on the news outlets and all across social media. And I've enjoyed the panel. I've learned a lot from Corey tonight. Corey, you're very touched, brother. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you speak, you speak. You know, you don't waste words. You know what I'm saying? So I really learned from you tonight. I know it's in you. You understand what I'm saying? You have the presence. You have the aura. You understand what I'm saying? So like I said, you are truly an ordained man, and you have a mind for the kingdom, and you stay on your work and your path. You understand what I'm saying? And I admire you greatly. And Simply Ray, it's always a pleasure. You know, it's you like that one person in the game where, you know what I'm saying, when you deliver that blow, you deliver that one knockout punch that everybody got to respect. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, whenever you speak, I just like to be around good people, and I always enjoy the panel. And cuz it's always an honor when you ask me to come on, and if I got the energy and the time, I'll always support the show. And also, lastly, I want to thank all the family members that's always engaged week in, week out. You know, y'all could be doing anything else on the Saturday night, and here you all are exchanging energy with us on a great topic, and we all learn from one another. And I like the input that we get from y'all as well in the comments. So basically, that's all I have to say, man. It's always a pleasure and a joy to be here. I've learned a lot, and I'm always continue to learn. So on that note, Jihad out.
That Simply Lorraine.
It has been real, as always. I have enjoyed the conversation. I have enjoyed the interaction, and I'll see y'all again next weekend.
Yeah. Next weekend. Speaking of, anybody want to reduce it? Reduce it. Introduce it. I'm sorry. Anybody want to introduce it? No, y'all don't want it. Y'all don't want it. Jihad, you want it?
No, I'm gonna leave that to Lorraine. I think Lorraine. That's on Lorraine.
Oh boy, Lorraine, go right ahead.
Huh?
Hot topic next week.
The hot topic for next week is okay. Let's go. You never know what I can handle. How soon is too soon to keep it real when dating? And the descriptions are you too poisonous to date? Are you dateable? Would you date yourself and why? You have your standards, but do you have your compromise?
Mm-hmm.
And what is your purpose for dating?
Ooh.
That's where we're going next.
You need 3 hours.
Listen, we don't have to stop when we stop, but next weekend will definitely, God, that's going to be the one. Do you hear me? That's going to be the one. I might have to grab me a glass of wine, some fellow roast for that one. It's gonna be amazing. So we are definitely talking about dating with a purpose, being intentional, not taking people's choice away when you are not upfront and honest about what you want. When you're not upfront and honest about who you are, or not knowing who you are. So we are going to dive right into that. Paul will be joining us. I'm excited about it. Meet us here next Saturday, same time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As Jihad mentioned, and the panel, we absolutely love you guys for supporting us. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And stay tuned. We are back for more. We're going to end the show with Brandon. And a congratulations to Brandon. Turned 18 June 27th, and literally on July 6th, I'm sorry, he just literally purchased and owns now his own Easy B Construction LLC. You all may not know. Yes.
That's real.
He's in school. He'll be going as a full-time student, freshman at KSU, where he's majoring in construction management. So, got to give Brandon a shout out. Anybody need any kind of minor construction projects? He's built me a walk-in closet. He's put up fences. He's put up gazebo platforms. All of that, give him a call. Let's support the youth, because we are definitely being intentional about generational wealth, health and wealth. So shout out to Brandon. Here's his video. I hope you enjoyed and it bless you guys. Good night, and thank you guys for being with us.
It's a letter to my mama, letter to my best friend. I know your love run deep. It'll never end. She taught me how to cook, she taught me how to clean. My dude's the realest one that is on my team, never ever picking sides. She taught me how to rise, taught me how to be a leader, never ever follow God, son, always follow God. She taught me how to pray right before I eat and right before I lay. Don't be scared to make mistakes. She taught me that it's human, so I'ma be like Nike and just do it. Anything I wanna do, I know my mama, she gon' ride. Yeah. She say never fear no men, only fear God. Yeah. So I'ma walk around with my head high in these fear guys. My mama, she gon' be straight, I put that on my God. And I kill 100 niggas before I ever see you cry. I love you, mama. It's a letter to my mama, letter to my best friend. I know your love run deep, it'll never end. She taught me how to cook, she taught me how to clean. My dude's the realest one that is on my team, never ever picking sides. She taught me how to rise, taught me how to be a leader, never ever follow God, son, always follow God. She taught me how to pray right before I eat and right before I lay. Don't be scared to make mistakes. She taught me that it's human, so I'ma be like Nike and just do it. Anything I wanna do, I know my mama, she gon' ride. Yeah. She say never fear no men, only fear God. Yeah. So I'ma walk around with my head high in these fear guys. My mama, she gon' be straight, I put that on my God. And I kill 100 niggas before I ever see you cry. I love you, mama. It's a letter to my mama, letter to my best friend. I know your love run deep, it'll never end. She taught me how to cook, she taught me how to clean. My dude's the realest one that is on my team, never ever picking sides. She taught me how to rise, taught me how to be a leader, never ever follow God, son, always follow God. She taught me how to pray right before I eat and right before I lay. Don't be scared to make mistakes. She taught me that it's human, so I'ma be like Nike and just do it. Anything I wanna do, I know my mama, she gon' ride. Yeah. She say never fear no men, only fear God. Yeah. So I'ma walk around with my head high in these fear guys. My mama, she gon' be straight, I put that on my God. And I kill 100 niggas before I ever see you cry. I love you, mama. It's a letter to my mama, letter to my best friend. I know your love run deep, it'll never end. She taught me how to cook, she taught me how to clean. My dude's the realest one that is on my team, never ever picking sides. She taught me how to rise, taught me how to be a leader, never ever follow God, son, always follow God. She taught me how to pray right before I eat and right before I lay. Don't be scared to make mistakes. She taught me that it's human, so I'ma be like Nike and just do it. Anything I wanna do, I know my mama, she gon' ride. Yeah. She say never fear no men, only fear God. Yeah. So I'ma walk around with my head high in these fear guys. My mama, she gon' be straight, I put that on my God. And I kill 100 niggas before I ever see you cry. I love you, mama. It's a letter to my mama, letter to my best friend. I know your love run deep, it'll never end. She taught me how to cook, she taught me how to clean. My dude's the realest one that is on my team, never ever picking sides. She taught me how to rise, taught me how to be a leader, never ever follow God, son, always follow God. She taught me how to pray right before I eat and right before I lay. Don't be scared to make mistakes. She taught me that it's human, so I'ma be like Nike and just do it. Anything I wanna do, I know my mama, she gon' ride. Yeah. She say never fear no men, only fear God. Yeah. So I'ma walk around with my head high in these fear guys. My mama, she gon' be straight, I put that on my God. And I kill 100 niggas before I ever see you cry. I love you, mama.
Good God, Mama, girl, that was Mama and her dude. Like, listen, this was the best show. She said, I didn't think it could get any better than that. Her dude was literally like, this is the best show, that she said they so full. She said, we are so full. Y'all showed out, period. And I'm so happy for you. And, I'm just so happy for the fact that you were able to be in your lane. Corey was able to be in his lane. You know what I'm saying?
Jahad was in his lane.
Jahad, girl, everybody said the same thing. Baby, you preaching and don't even know it. You preaching and don't even know it. Do you hear me? Like, you are truly preaching. He didn't know it. He got God preparing him.
He didn't. I don't think he knew that everything he's learned and studied is preparing him for those he's gonna reach.
Yeah. Hold on.
Who else can reach 5%?
Hold
Who
on.
else can reach
engage people in that? Who else can bring them that type of conversation that they can't out talk?
Yeah, hold on.